I have a lot of public support, and the people that know me already support me.
You say you're innocent. You just spent the better part of a big chunk of your life behind bars. Are you bitter?
I'm so grateful today. There's no room for any bitterness.
Do you think someday you will be bitter?
Guys, what do you think? Think you're going to be bitter someday? So bitter, right?
Who knows? I've gone through my very angry years and had to work through that for my own psychological survival. And I'm just so happy right now that it's kind of an odd question for me to answer.
Ma'am, if as your brief lays out, the three people...
He's got a really loud voice, doesn't he? It's hard to overcome Gowdy. Yeah, you should have been a lawyer.
The three people laid out in your brief are in fact responsible for this. If the two who are still alive were ever brought to justice, would you want to testify against them? And would you?
Oh, that's so hard to say because, it's so far in the future. I just can't answer that.
Would you have anything to say against them, ma'am?
I don't know anything. If I did, I would have said something 10 years ago.
Why didn't you?
Well, she didn't know anything. If she did, she would have said so 10 years ago. There was a question back there.
You have
Yes.
no knowledge, is that correct?
I have no knowledge.
Go ahead.
Why don't you describe in great detail exactly what you were wearing in court yesterday? It's sort of like 10 years ago when you were originally on trial. Does that bother you at all?
It's unusual. One newspaper reported something entirely incorrect. They said I had a navy blue athletic suit on, and I was wearing jeans and a ski jacket. So that crossed my mind.
The gentleman told us that you were still numb, you were disbelieving. When did it finally hit you that you were free?
Oh, when I woke up this morning in a bed as soft as a marshmallow.
Well, we know how happy you were to get out of prison. Were there any melancholy feelings at all about leaving?
Yes. Yes, there were. I have one very, very best friend that I was cellmates with for years, and it hurts me to leave someone like that.
Will you keep in touch with any of them?
Certainly.
Can you tell us what the worst moment was for you in the past 10 years?
There are so many. It's really hard to pick one. I think that the dehumanizing aspects of prison are probably the worst.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be behind bars for decades for a crime that you feel was in fact committed
In 50 words or less? It's one of the reasons I wrote Woman on Trial, because I wanted people to know exactly what it's like. And you just can't summarize briefly. It's a horrible, dehumanizing experience to have all of your privacy taken away and to be treated like a number instead of a human being.
Well, Ms. Bembenek, in that regard, and sort of what he asked before, what do you think of the justice system now? I mean, you're out, and so some people might say the justice system works, but you've just taken a 10-year detour for a justice system that wasn't working very well for you. So, what's your advice for us? I don't know, maybe Sheldon would have a different answer than what you say.
Well, you know what? Since he gave us an opening, I'll let Frank... No, she will, but it'll give her a chance to think, you see. Frank, I'm curious, because her situation took a lot of... in the Canadian press, there was a lot of confusion about how something like this could happen. And maybe
true.
Frank can address that for a minute.
That's
Now,
true.
let her answer. But...
Well, I don't know how you view whether or not system works. If someone gets convicted of something that they didn't do, system didn't work. At the same time, it does seem that when you get enough people genuinely working toward a result, notwithstanding the fact that you have a conviction and all appeals dismissed and seemingly no place to go, that nevertheless the system reluctantly, very reluctantly, does seem to have enough flexibility to allow you to attempt notwithstanding the fact that your rights are basically all exhausted, to come back. Can't comment on the plea of no contest and so on because we don't have that, and I'd have to defer to Sheldon in that sense. I don't know if you can say if there's a mistake that the system works, but I guess if it's administered by people, part of it working is that there will inevitably be mistakes, and the test of the system is whether it can respond. There's a weakness from my perspective, and I don't mean this with respect only to the United States. The weakness is the system is very reluctant to accept the notion that it might have made a mistake. And that's something I think that has to be changed. It's administered by people. It stands to reason that there can be mistakes.
Hang on, we're going to get 3 bites at that one question. Yeah, I'm sorry, you know. Maybe I can help you with getting an understanding of how we came to the no contest plea by way of answering your question. When I became involved in the case, the first thing I did was to meet with Mike McCann and Bob Donahue and a woman named Gail Hoffman, who also worked for the DA's office at the time. Both Frank and I are former prosecutors, and both of us have an abiding respect for the prosecutor's office that perhaps is not shared by our client. But having gone, if I went through what she went through, I don't think I'd have that same respect either. But given that respect, Frank and I discussed this matter, and I went in and talked to them, and I told them I thought they had made a mistake. They said that they had heard that again and again and again over the last 10 years, and they were not convinced. But they were very polite, and they seemed to be very well-meaning, and they seemed genuinely interested in doing the right thing, however that is defined. And they told me before I left that if you come back with proof, we are open-minded and we will do something. But we have a conviction that has stood through challenge after challenge after challenge, and we are certainly not predisposed to do anything. You better come back here with overwhelming proof. We spent the next year and a half digging up the overwhelming proof. And out of the public eye, when we had concluded our investigation with Mike Armitage's invaluable help, we sent the DA all our material. We sent him all the reports of interviews that Mike and I had done. We sent them early drafts of the brief. We gave it all to them beforehand because I took Mr. McCann and Mr. Donahue at their word when they said, if you bring us overwhelming proof, we will do something. After they read what we had done, Mr. Donahue decided, Mr. McCann decided, that we should work something out. Now that which was worked out was not the best of all possible conclusions for Lori. It obviously would have been preferable to have them admit that they made a terrible mistake and that she had spent 10.5 years in jail wrongly. It is very difficult for a DA's office to go that far with the standing conviction that they have. I recognize that, but the most important thing to me and to Lori and to Frank and to every person up here was to get her out of jail as fast as possible. Her parents were supposed to be here today. They're not because they're ill. Both have been very ill. This has taken an enormous toll on them, and it is my job to get her out of jail. Do we care about what the public thinks? Yeah, I suppose so, but it's secondary. Our responsibility is to our client. Her responsibility was to her family. Given those parameters, the district attorney's office and Lori and myself, with Frank's help, worked out an agreement. It is an imperfect agreement like every compromise. Both parties walked away from the table unhappy about it in certain respects. We are taught in law school and in practice that that is the sign of a good agreement. She got out of jail yesterday. She is innocent. The system, in its own bizarre, peculiar, circuitous, unfair sometimes way, worked of a sort. It should have worked 10.5 years ago. She should never have been convicted. But it worked, kind of. And I am grateful to the DA's office for making it work and being true to their word. After reading our brief and materials, it is obvious to me that they were persuaded, and I think you need to all know this, that they had a reasonable doubt as to her guilt. And we wouldn't be here today if they didn't. And all of you from Milwaukee know that. Yeah.
Well, as Sheldon said, I think that the DA's office, I think that their actions speak louder than their words. And I'm free today.
Lori, as a one-time police officer, albeit for a very short, relatively short amount of time, how would you evaluate the performance of the police officers who investigated the murder of Stephen Short?
Again, that's not a real easy answer to give. I think, like the John Doe indicated, that inexplicable errors were made that were significant and that shouldn't have been condoned. And in fact, some of these errors would have been exculpatory, unfortunately, like the serial number on the gun and whatnot. I could have, if they had taken down the serial number on the gun, I could have proved that that was not the murder weapon, but as it stands, even today, it's just a big question.
Lori, you say you have supporters, but as this room indicates, you've gone well beyond just having supporters. You've reached that rarefied status of a celebrity. How do you feel about that?
I kind of feel like Socks, the cat in the White House. It's just overwhelming to me. I don't know why, you know.
Have you followed all the writing and the TV and everybody's talking about you? Are you aware of the kind of status you
I've had people from the outside say, you have no idea, because I wasn't out there. And there was no television allowed in solitary confinement, so I hadn't seen a TV in 7 months. So I was sheltered from it to a large extent, I believe.
Are you happy about that?
In a way, yes.
There was a question over here.
A lot of people interested in your case in Canada, the Broadcasting Corporation. What do you have to say to the people who are following your case up there and the positive thoughts about your time spent there?
I love Canadians. It was a wonderful place, and when I was returned to the U.S., I know this is going to sound somewhat irrational on my part, but I was like homesick for Canada. I missed the friends that I made there because I made some real intense friendships, given the short amount of time that I spent there.
There are a couple people who have helped you stand here who are not here today. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are now on Ira Robinson down in Seattle.
Well, Ira was there for many years, and he did keep the interest alive in the case.
Dominic?
I'm grateful to him as well.
Bembenek, about how much is this legal defense costing you, and where are you getting the money to pay for it?
Yeah, wait, can I introduce you now to Alan Mushin? He is the managing partner of my firm. I think this is an appropriate moment to introduce Mr. Mushin.
Where are you getting the money to pay for this army of lawyers?
Well, this army of lawyers only recently came into the picture. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but given what I was going through, that concern was secondary, and I have both firms to thank for that.
Where'd you get the money?
Where did I get what money? Initially, my parents had to mortgage their house and that sort of thing initially.
Did you get anything from the Pope? Do you have any deals lined up?
Yeah, wait, I want to make sure we got one thing clear. He won't like this, but especially that it's going public, that we did this pro bono. But both Frank's firm and Cat and Mushin and Zavis became involved in this case because we believed it was the right thing to do. There has been no money. He's hopeful. You can see he's hopeful.
I just wanted to answer for 1 second, just from our own firm's point of view and from Faskin Campbell Godfrey's friend. We have never presented Ms. Bembenek with a bill for fees. I don't know what happened at the time of her trial, but maybe that helps to answer your question. Well, I guess the common sense answer is that notwithstanding the strong feelings that all of us have about that type of situation, common sense would dictate that we could not continue to function like that with respect to every person who contacted us. This was something that happened to us, and we responded to it. I wasn't worried about setting a precedent, and I don't think Mr. Zenner was either, or Mr. Hunt. We dealt with the case that was presented, and that's the way we handled it.
As you and your lawyers stand there, you believe that there are still a couple of people who are responsible for this murder. Are you concerned about your own safety?
I really haven't given that much thought, I guess.
Can you tell us
Can we take that girl's question? They keep shouting her down.
Can you tell me some of the things you're going to relish the most now that you have your children?
Oh, being with my family, being able to hug people, being out of chains, very simple things like that.
Lori, you said you'd take it one day at a time. But what do you hope for? I mean, would you want to get it? Would you like to go back to work? Would you like to marriage, maybe? I mean, what are the things you'd like to have in the rest of your, to fill up the rest of your days?
Again, it's all too soon for me to make any.
No kind of aspirations.
Well, I mean, of course, I have hope for my future, but as far as specifics, I still have no idea. I never had to realistically think about those things.
Lori, what has been written about you? What is the one thing that nobody's ever said about you?
Nah, don't jump into that one. No. On advice of counsel. How about two more questions?
I plead the Fifth Amendment.
Just a couple more questions.
Dad, what deals have you made to sell your story or to even do a modeling?
There's no modeling at all. I mean, I got away from that, about 15 years ago.
I was a field where we put on lipstick again and be able to cut your...
Yeah, freedom looks good on me, I think.
I don't mean to burst people in with this question, but it seems to be fair. The Schultz family, one member today said that they were glad this is the final chapter as well. If Sean and Shannon Schultz, two children in that room when their mother was murdered, if they were in this room, what would you say?
Great sympathy.
Obviously, I have great sympathy for them. I knew those two little boys, and they lived with us for a short amount of time, and I grew quite fond of them. And unfortunately, we were all separated. They testified that it wasn't me, and I will always be grateful to them.
Okay, last question.
That somebody comes out of prison without announcing somehow that they've had some change come over them during their period of incarceration.
But could you repeat the question, please?
It would be rare for somebody to come out of prison, whether being released on parole or free as you were or whatever the circumstances were, without being able to talk about some kind of change that has occurred in them during the time they were incarcerated. Whether that be a jailhouse conversion, a finding God, you name it. What happened to you in 10 years? And are you a different person today?
Oh, I'm definitely a different person today than I was, in terms of, I did seek to make the best use of my time as much as possible. I did get a college education. I'm more educated, you know, those sorts of positive things. I just did the best that I could to survive.
Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it.
Believe there was a conspiracy.
Nah, we're done for now. Thank you all for coming. Okay, come on, you can do this later.
And that is what has been happening in Chicago as Lawrencia Bembenek spoke to reporters for a little over a half an hour talking about what life was like in prison and what her life will be like in the future. Her attorney, Sheldon Zenner, said it was much like Academy Award night. There was no doubt who the star was this afternoon. He had also made a very striking statement that the DA's office in Milwaukee County had to have had a reasonable doubt about the guilt of Lawrencia Bembenek to have been able to strike this deal yesterday. So the person that we would really want to get a response from right now would be Deputy DA Bob Donahue, who has been watching this press conference with our Boyd Hoopert, and I'd like to know what he has to say about everything.
Well, Julie, Bob Donahue has been involved in this case from the very beginning in a lead role in recent years, and that was certainly a statement that drew his attention during the news conference. We're talking about the remark by Mr. Zenner that you apparently concluded that there was reasonable doubt in this case to come up with this kind of an agreement.
No, we did not. Why we did what we did was a belief that two things. Number one, we might lose the motion, which doesn't mean that she's innocent. And number two, upon a retrial and looking at the first trial, that she could have been found guilty of second-degree murder. On a retrial, that would be a very likely possibility. And in fact, that was a fair thing to do in this case. If we had had any doubt about her guilt, right now, we would have went in court and said, we asked the court to dismiss this case, and we would have done that, and I would have done that, and that's just the bottom line there. So that's just, I know Sheldon said that, but I never indicated to him in any way that I had any doubt. In fact, we had very frank discussions, and he believes she's innocent, and we believe that she's guilty. I mean, that's just a fair disagreement, and we realize that.
As you watched this today, and you saw Lawrencia Bembenek made up, do hairdo, what did you feel about her?
Well, I think I've always avoided saying what I feel, and I think now it's the appropriate time to say that, and this will take maybe 30 seconds, but bear with me. During this entire matter, I've never met her. Okay, this was a professional doing a job. Mr. Zenner is doing his job. He's a professional, extremely fine attorney. I have a lot of respect for him, as are other attorneys, quite frankly. I have a high respect for them. But basically, what we have here and how I feel about her is, I saw a while ago, a Canadian paper asked me, is she like Joan of Arc? And my thoughts go back to the person of Joan of Arc. She was being burnt to the stake. She didn't say, well, wait a minute. I'll say I'm not a heretic. I'll say I didn't hear voices from God if you don't burn me. No, she said, burn me, and I'm a person of conviction. Having said that, what's happened in this case is Lawrencia Bembenek has been found guilty twice. Once by a jury of 12, and once on a plea of no contest, which says I don't contest it, and she was found guilty. Having said that, however, I think it's fair to say that this could have been a second-degree murder charge. She, in fact, served a little bit more time had she been found guilty of second-degree murder earlier. She has served her time. That's the law. She served the max amount of time. And in one sense, like any other person who's paid their debt to society, I wish her well in that sense. But she is a convicted murderer, but she's entitled now to lead her life on parole. She's on parole. So I guess the sum of this is she's paid her debt to society, and Christine Schultz is dead. We all wish that wouldn't have happened. But under the law, she's done the time that she had to do, in fact, more. So I think now she gets under her life. So I wish her well, as I wish many other people well once they get out of prison on parole. I wish her well.
Real quickly, you said you intend this to be your last interview on this topic. Is that a promise you intend to keep?
This is probably, I hope to be one of the last interviews, if not the last interview. I've